Welcome back to HiiQ. In this series, we're going to be covering Adobe XD, also known as Adobe Experience Designer. Now, this program was created to help web designers create experiences that are more easily creatable in the web development side. So if you know from way back, there used to be a program called Fireworks by Adobe that was very similar, where it was meant for designing websites. But websites have changed in recent years, from going to responsive design and being very flat with fewer images. So Adobe wanted to set out to create a design program tailored to web developers and designers to make sure that they design things that will be scalable and usable in multiple formats such as iOS, Android, or web. So to start this series, we're just going to be doing the very basics by covering the Artboard tool. And in later episodes, we'll get into other tools as well as how to create some really fancy designs and get into a little bit of UI theory and UX theory, also known as user interface versus user experience design. So let's get started. So I'm just starting up Adobe XD right now, and right in the Welcome panel, we can immediately select what device we are going to be designing for. So whether it's iPhone, iPad, or for web. You can also click on these little drop downs to select different device types, so such as our Android mobile. Now, there's also new add-ons that are going to be changing the way Adobe XD works. So these add-ons, we're not going to cover them today, but just to give you a brief little look, it allows you to add new features to Adobe XD, making this program very extensible for the future. We'll be covering a few of these later on, but right now we're just going to be running a completely vanilla version of Adobe XD. So for this, I'm going to start with a simple web layout. So I'm just going to click on the web layout, and this will start my project. So to begin, let's just look at some of the actual settings of our artboards. So in the center of the screen, this would be what we refer to as our artboard. You can also see on the left, it will list any artboards that you have currently. To see the settings of the artboard, I'm just going to click on the top bit of text here, and I'll select the artboard. Over on the right in our properties panel, we can see the artboard's actual width, height settings, as well as the ability to switch it between landscape and portrait. Below that, we do have this option for responsive resize. We're going to be covering responsive resize in a much later episode, so I wouldn't worry about it just as yet. For scrolling, this feature is very good for when we want to make sure that we are designing all of our content to be above the fold of the page, as it's referred to. So on my artboard, to show how this works, I'm going to scale it up just by selecting the bottom little handle here and dragging down. So you'll see there's this dotted line in between. That just shows where my screen area ends. So if I was to design all my content, put in some sliders and things, it's a clear indicator of where the monitor is and where the user will have to start scrolling. So you can choose whether this artboard is a vertical scroll, and if it's mobile, whether it is a horizontal scroll, for instance. And then the viewport height itself. Below that, we have the appearance of the actual artboard. This allows us to change the fill of the artboard. So I can just click on this little color picker here, and I can select any color I want. Now, with any color picker in Adobe XD, you can save your swatches. Since this is an area where we want to make sure that we are saving all the colors that are going to be utilized within our project, it's a very good idea to keep the swatches. So if I select a background color here that I'm going to be using later, right below, I'm going to just click this Save Color Swatch. And there we go, that color swatch is saved. And it will show up in any other color picker throughout Adobe XD. You can also select from existing colors on your artboard by just clicking this Pick Color from Screen. This allows me to select any color I want. Perfect. Now I'm going to switch that back to white. And the final setting for our artboard is the grid layout. So this is extremely useful, as a lot of websites these days are designed using some kind of a grid layout, also referred to as a column layout. So if I check this on, as you can see, it immediately adds in my standard 12 column grid layout. And you can customize it a bit here. So I can choose how many columns I want. So I'm just going to click inside the field here, and I can type in a number, or I can even use the arrow keys just to go up and down to select new columns. You can change your gutter width, which is the white space in between each column. I can increase that or decrease. And you can even set your column width, though it's automatically being set because I have an exact measurement here of my columns, and then it's just separating them by the gutter width, but you can also manually change this. And then the final settings down at the bottom here, this allows me to set whether this is a left to right margin based, or if I want to put margin along all sides of the screen. So just by clicking on this little option here, I can raise the actual top margin, the top margin, the right margin, the bottom margin, and the left margin. Whenever you see 4 values like this, it is always going to be in that order. Top, right, bottom, left. Just think clockwise. I'm going to keep this as a left to right only. And there we go. Now, when it comes to adding more artboards, we can add them for multiple devices or just have multiple screens. For a lot of our websites that we design here, we like to make sure that we design every single page in a single document. That way the developer can go in and see all the pages, or a client can even go through and actually navigate the website. We'll get into how to use prototyping in a later episode. So for now, to add in more artboards, over on the left here, we have our Tools panel. And near the bottom, there is the actual Artboard tool. If you hover over the tool, you'll notice that it has a little tooltip that tells you the actual hotkey to activate that tool. So I'm going to just select the Artboard tool here, or click A on the keyboard. And then I'm just going to scroll over to the right of the artboard here, and I can click and drag and draw a new artboard. And there we go. So with this new artboard, I should start naming them to make sure that I don't get too confused. So I can just double click on the actual title of the artboard and I can rename it. So this may be my About page. So this also means I should probably name my first artboard. So I can go to that artboard and double click the title, or over in the Artboards panel, I can double click the name here and just write in what I want the name to be. I can also, for organization, click and drag these artboards just to rearrange them, like so. Now, this artboard isn't exactly the same as my previous one. I probably want ones that have the same screen size. So, instead of drawing a new artboard, as long as I have the Artboard tool active, over on the right, I can select from any of those existing artboard sizes. So I can scroll down and I can see that there is that same web layout that I used before. So I'm just going to click on that, and you'll see it'll automatically add that new artboard in at those dimensions. If you want to design the same exact project design, but at different device resolutions, you can select a completely different resolution to pop it next to it so that the client or developer can see what you want your project to look like in a mobile view. If you want to just duplicate a complete artboard and all of its contents, select the artboard, once again using the Artboard tool, and you can just use copy paste, or my favorite is holding the Option or Alt key on Windows and just dragging the artboard down. And then I'll let go, and there we go, I have just created a new artboard. And once again, you can also use copy paste, so I can go Edit, Copy, or Command C, and then Command V or Edit Paste, and it will paste the artboard at the next step here. Perfect. So that's the Artboard tool in Adobe XD. In the next episode, we're going to get into how to draw shapes in Adobe XD and all of their settings. So, till next time. HiiQ is filmed in Hiilite Creative Group Studio in Kelowna, British Columbia, and is made with the help of our creative team. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel and check us out at hiilite.com.